Hello and welcome back to the A to Z Jobs podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and this is the show where we deep dive into the careers you're curious about, going beyond the job title to discover the real stories, the daily challenges, and the secrets to success. Today we're taking to the skies, but not as a pilot. My guest works in the high-stakes world of aviation, ensuring that when you're sipping your gin and tonic at 35,000 feet, everything is running safely and smoothly. Please welcome Grant, an air safety and compliance manager. He started his career over 30 years ago with a Saturday job at a local airport, dealing with everything from bomb threats to celebrity passengers, before finding his final calling on the ground in roles like air traffic control and now in safety. We'll be talking about the intense pressure of directing planes, the art of giving tough feedback, and why his mantra is, if it saves just one life, it's all worth it. So fasten your seatbelt and get ready for a fascinating journey into the career that keeps aviation safe. Grant, thank you for joining us on the A to Z Job podcast. Tell us a bit about yourself,
Right.
your career, and what got you started.
Okay. Well, I started my career in aviation, over 30 years ago now, and it was at the local airport. And I was looking for a Saturday job, as you did back then. I was 16, and I managed to get a customer service job for the weekend at the local airport. Which was great because all the rest of my friends worked in fast food restaurants and the local supermarkets and all that. And I was dealing with bomb threats and delays and celebrity passengers, and they were frying chips. So that was really good, and it was very exciting, and that sort of got me the bug. I had no intention of ever working in aviation. It wasn't a career that was spoken about at school or that was on the cards. Didn't really know anything about it, but through that job, I went to university initially and then had to leave through ill health and went back to the customer service job. Permanent job come up in air traffic, and through all that, I just sort of learned more and more about the business really, and the kind of back end of the business. So not the bit that you see as a passenger, or as a traveller. I'd never been in an aeroplane. In fact, I started working with aeroplanes before I had ever been on an aeroplane, which was an interesting concept. And from there, that sort of opened. I grew up in southwest Scotland. Not a huge amount of career opportunities in aviation there. Wanted to travel and see the world. I got as far as the Midlands of England, which was only about 350 miles away. But I got into the airline sector rather than the airport sector there, and worked through a number of jobs there, and that is where I first started getting a taste for the area of compliance and safety assurance, which is what I now work in permanently, full time, and that was my little taster there in the first airline, and I went through several other airlines where it became my permanent job. And brought me to where I am now as a safety and compliance manager.
You mentioned celebrities. Did you get to meet anyone super famous?
I did. I got to meet. We had a lot of world-renowned golf courses near the airport. It was Prestwick Airport, southwest Scotland, and the area is very well known for its golf courses. Royal Troon, Royal Turnberry, um, which is now owned by a gentleman who's doing things in America. And I, to my eternal shame these days, I carried his bags for him. I never got to meet him, but I carried these bags for him and did actually get a significant tip from him, which I was allowed to take and keep. Which 30 years ago, 100 quid was a lot of money. So yeah, I got a little tip. I also met the singer Bjork.
Ah, yeah.
Um, she was an interesting character, but most of the ones that we met were famous golfers who would come through for the tournament. So Tiger Woods and a host of others used to come in and park their aircraft at Prestwick as well. So yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting.
Fantastic. And what about? I know we're going to spend most of the time talking about your current job, but just want to touch quickly
Mm.
on the air traffic control work you're doing.
Mm.
Is that is that as stressful as it sounds? Like you see, like I watch a lot of air crash investigations on YouTube, and there's always
Yeah.
like you see these shots in these towers. Like I could never do that. Is it as stressful as it looks?
It can be. It absolutely can be. Was it stressful when I was? It depends very much on what airfield you're at, or there's obviously, as you'll have seen from the air crash investigation, it's not just about airports. There's area control centres as well that are controlling chunks of the sky, not round airports. Um, we at Prestwick had tower control. We had a flight training school. We also got a lot of commercial airlines coming and doing training as well. And we had cargo operations and passenger operations. So there was a really good mix of flying. So some days you could be sat there doing really not that much at all, and you think, I'm getting paid for this. And then, other days, it felt what we imagined at the time was a little bit like Heathrow or Chicago or something like that. It was nowhere near that, but it felt like it to us because there was, five or six trainers up there. There was, a jumbo jet freighter coming in. There was three delayed passenger flights. We thought, oh my God, it's like an international hub. But it can be stressful, and I work still do work very closely with people that work in air traffic, and certainly in the busier pieces of airspace, it can be very stressful. And a very interesting scenario I had at one of my previous places of employment, where I looked after air traffic, but from an airline perspective, and we worked with the area control sectors for the central part of the UK here. Very busy piece of airspace because of the airfields round about it and the amount of traffic that crosses it. And they did a workshop where they actually showed us a kind of real life morning of a Friday morning, middle of the summer season, when there was a lot of holiday flights here in the UK and across Europe, and they showed us just exactly how busy it could get. And the woman that was the controller on shift, she paused the video. You could see the radar screen. She would pause it and talk you through what she was thinking. And I had a load of pilots that I had taken with me, and bear in mind they talked to air traffic control every single day through the course of their job, and they turned to me and went, well, I won't say exactly what they said. There was a few expletives in there, but it was very much the, oh my God, how do they do that? And I'm like, yeah, that's why they get paid the big bucks, because it is very, very stressful. So can depend where you are, but yeah, you have to. There's no sitting playing Angry Birds or being on your socials whilst you're on a shift. It's
No,
100%
no.
focus,
You've got to be
but
switched on. Like,
fascinating.
you'd be exhausted like that. That just being switched on for that period of time. Like
Yeah,
it's exhausting doing it a couple of hours at a time, let alone like a whole
mm,
shift, and knowing
yeah,
that those decisions have big
yeah.
impact. Um,
And that's why it's when you're exposed to scenarios like that and you actually see it real time and you speak to the people that are doing it, you can see why they stagger it. So you're only in the seat maybe 40 minutes, certainly in a busy period. So I think back in the day, and don't quote me the legals because it's been a while, but it was something like you could only do an hour on, an hour off through any one 8-hour shift. But if it was busy, they would reduce that because of exactly as you say there, Nate, the concentration that's needed. And I mean, this one woman, the scenario she was describing to us, she barely had time to pause and take breath. It was literally one bit after the other. Talk to the aircraft, next one. What's happening? Who are you? Where are you going? You need to do this. You need to do that. And it's like she can barely breathe. How is her brain firing that? Because as she's talking to one, she must be looking at something else because she's already decided what's happening with that one by the time she's finished telling the first one what they're doing. And it's just constant. It's fascinating to watch. And I can see why people uh, like yourself watch aircraft investigations and stuff like that, because it's an exposure that you just, when you're sat there having your gin and tonic at 35,000 feet en route to Bali or whatever, you just don't think there's someone sitting there stressing out, making sure that you don't crash into something you shouldn't. So yeah, it's great, fascinating stuff. I still love it, still love it.
One more quick question before we get back to the to the main job.
Yeah.
So for air traffic controlling, is there a degree or is there some training you need to do beforehand, or is it really just on the job, get up to speed on the job?
There's, I think every national authority is probably different. Mine's was quite, excuse me, mine's was quite different to how people normally do it. Because I worked at the airport, we weren't air traffic services weren't supplied by the sort of national authorities they were back then. Most national authorities or most countries will have a training, either a national training centre as part of their aviation services. NATS is in the UK, National Air Traffic Services. But because we were an independent airport, I started as an assistant controller, and there was a private college where you could go and you could train as a controller. My assistant's controller at the time was very much on the job training and classroom training provided by the assistants. For an air traffic controller, you could go and do an independent course at one of the independent colleges and do that. But that said, you still have to go through, it's a certified training course. You had to go and you would be trained to the exact same standard. And you would have to go through the exact same sign off process by in the UK, the Civil Aviation Authority, to say that you were competent to fulfil that role. So you either went through the kind of national provider or an independent provider, but you were verified by the Aviation Authority of
As well.
the country that you were living in. And like a lot of things in aviation, like pilots and cabin crew, and an annual revalidation every single year where they come in and assess you to see what you're doing. So I'm sure there are probably kind of degree courses you can do now, but as far as I'm aware from the UK, it's still NATS is the national provider. They still run a recruitment drive. I know Europe still do it through Eurocontrol because I have contacts there, and it's a recruitment drive. You're brought in and you're given the specialist training for. I think the initial training is probably something around about 18 months to 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's proper intense. And when you see the kind of output that we were just describing a short while ago, to be able to work like that and fire like that, it's not something you're going to learn in a couple of weeks. It's
And nor
yeah,
should it be. It should be that
absolutely,
detailed.
absolutely not. But yeah, I enjoyed my time there, but I'm not sure that I would have been the best person to progress much further than that. So I'm glad my career went in the direction it did.
Fantastic. So, if you're wanting
Mm.
to be an air traffic controller, look for the recruitment drive. Reach out to the local authorities and get the details from there. Perfect. So,
Absolutely, though it'll be something that's very Googleable if such a word exists in any country through a kind of national provider.
okay, back to your current job. Tell me, what do you love about it? What gets you out of the bed in the morning? What do you love?
I really really like the variety that my job involves. So I look after the the compliance and safety assurance for the operational side of the airline world for the company that I work for, and that includes everything from flight deck, their procedures, their training, their emergency procedures, cabin crew, their training, their procedures, but also the ground stuff. So the ground handling of aircraft, the flight planning, the crew rostering, the legal requirements for the hours that they work and the rest periods that they work. The support and ancillary services such as aircraft performance, weight and balance, the handling of dangerous goods, I'm working along all the departments in the office that we're based in to capture it. There's loads of other things, and just when you think you have a handle on it, you think, "Good, yeah, I know what I'm dealing with." I go, this is coming in. You need to go and have a look at that now. And you also get the chance to go and work a lot with your third party contractors. So you may have a third party that's not part of your organisation that provides the training for you. That might be a different company that does your flight crew training as it does your cabin crew training. So that's two different companies. Certainly with ground handling, you have a lot of different airfields around the world that you fly to, and it might be a different company and a different scenario in each of those airfields that handle your aircraft. And that's really, really fascinating to see how everybody does the same job but does it slightly differently. but is still doing it the right way. And it's just such a variety. If you were to ask me what's a typical day in the life of me, I couldn't tell you, because every single day you could be dealing with something different, which keeps it interesting. It keeps it really, really interesting, and it keeps it fresh. And there is that bit of, like you say, you get out of bed, and I've got a calendar, don't we all? You know, we live by our Google calendars and our Outlook calendars, and I will look at it, go, oh, that's what I'm doing today, and I can guarantee 9 times out of 10, by the time you get to 5 o'clock, your day has been looks nothing like what you'd actually planned, and that's the good thing. Keeps it fresh.
Variety. And being so cross-functional as well, there must be a lot of relationship management, because you need to keep that healthy relationship across all departments, if you're particularly in your
Absolutely.
role, because it's not
Mm.
always good news, and you need to have established that relationship to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most important things that I have learned about my role in my area in compliance and safety assurance, which I have now been first started doing it as a site part of another job, best part of 25 years ago now, and then it became a permanent thing. And the first thing and the biggest thing that you can learn is about relationship building, because you can be dropped into, if I give an example, dropped into an airfield uh, in a foreign country where their first language isn't your first language. And thankfully, most of the people I met spoke much better English than I did their mother tongue. But to get the best out of them, you're there for 3 days, and you need to get everything as much as possibly can out of them. You need that relationship from the minute you walk in, and that is a skill that is so crucial to the success of the role that myself and my team members would do. Relationship building, being able to talk, being able to listen, and how you go about that. And like you say, for people internally, how you maintain that throughout. You're working with a host of personalities day in, day out, and you need to be able to just nurture those relationships to get the best out of people.
Yeah,
It's not
I
always
feel that
easy.
that's close to home. Like in HR, it's a very similar role in the sense of the
Yeah,
relationships, because you need to be there to support them and help grow their career, but you're also there to tell them off and to fix
yeah,
problems as they come up. So you find that balance, you get those connections, you have those informal chats to make sure you've got that relationship developed.
absolutely. It's very interesting. We do comment that HR and compliance tend to be the two most, and I'm saying in inverted commas, hated teams within any business because it's like, oh, what do you want when you walk in anywhere? The kind of line is, what do you want? Don't tell them anything.
It's either what do
don't,
you
t-
want,
don't
or what have I done wrong?
Yeah, what have I done wrong? And I'm always like, oh, is that a guilty complex there? Do I need to explore this further? So I've started walking in now saying, before you ask, I'm just here to say hello, and just remember, I'm really nice. I'm really nice. Please don't hate me. But yeah, there's very much parallels between, I suppose, the HR world and the role that I do as well. So I feel your pain.
So tell me the not so glamorous parts of the job. What are the things that can be frustrating or you find difficult or challenging?
I think that the challenge, and again, you'll probably appreciate this, that the nature of my job is that you will be in to assess, and the result of any assessment is an output, and that output isn't always going to be, oh, you're fab, you're great, well done, see you next year. So it's that trying to give let's call it the constructive feedback, because that's what it is. It's constructive stuff, but it's trying to make sure that that lands as constructive feedback and not criticism. And some people that are on board with the process get that, and kind of welcome it. Other people perhaps aren't as familiar with the process and take it as a criticism. Some people take it very personally as well. And again, going back to having those good interpersonal relationships, that's where they really come into your own, because if you've had a good 2 or 3 day session with people and they realise you're not a bad person, you're just asking questions, and you go over and you're able to explain why you're doing what you're doing, are you able to explain what why you might be raising something at the end of it, that really, really helps. People will always, invariably, because we are human and we are emotional, and people will periodically take things very, very personally, and you'll have the same yourself in HR. So that never gets easy. No matter how many times you do it, and no matter how well you know someone, it's always, and I still find it, and I talk about this when we're doing sort of like training and coaching for my team and other people that are coming in to to take on the roles of doing like auditing and feedback, is it never gets easy. So you just need, it's something you just need to learn how to do it. And every time you do it and you think, oh, that went wrong, it's a good learning curve for the next time. Well, I'm certainly not going to say that in that manner the next time. And we've all done it. So yeah, that can be that's the hardest bit about the job, I would say. The other bit, to completely jump in the face of what I've just said earlier on, the the variety and diversity can sometimes be frustrating as well, because, like you say, when you think, I really need to get through these 8 things tomorrow in my calendar, and because of the role that you do and because of the function you fill, you get a lot. If you've got 2 minutes, and the 2 minutes is never 2 minutes, it's always 2.5 hours.
No.
And then you ask a question to help them out of it, and you're like, right, well, it's 2 hours, and then it goes down a rabbit hole, and the next thing, the whole day is going, and you're like, when am I going to fit these other 8 things in now? Because funnily enough, tomorrow is booked with other things as well. So the thing that's good about it can also be the thing that can be quite frustrating sometimes. But you have to balance that. You have to balance that out. That is the nature of the job you do, and you have to learn to live with it somehow, and manage it as best you can.
Yeah. Some advice that I was given from a previous manager of mine was no one's coming to work to do a bad job. And
Exactly.
it's just kind of, it sounds so simple, but if you just, when you go into these difficult conversations with people, if you just keep that at the back of your mind, like they don't know they're doing it wrong, or
Hmm.
most of the time, like, yeah, they might be being a bit cheeky, but no one's
Yeah,
coming to work to do a bad job. So approach it with a positive energy and try
absolutely.
and solve something rather than coming in and telling someone off, because that's
Yeah.
never going to go down well.
And that's it. And you touched on a good point there, Nate. With the language, it's you said that it's not telling someone off. It's how you put it across. If you put it across that you're telling somebody, I mean, we're all human. I would be exactly the same. You would instantly shut down, because I'm not having you coming in here telling me how to do my job. Gone. Whereas again, back to your relationships, you set the scene, you have the good discussions. It's about how you set it up. We always open audits with we're looking at the process, not the person. And you're talking about the process may be wrong. The process may have evolved, and the paperwork may not have caught up, or maybe the process needs to evolve. But until we look at it, we don't know that, and it's about capturing what helps you take things forward. It's not a you have done something wrong, because there will be a reason why it's not working. Is it a lack of training? Is it a lack of support material? It will be a thing, not a person. Um, but yeah, it's it's very difficult, but it's very much how you frame it, I would say. And that's even down to things as well. The thing that I always used to do, especially if you were at an airport, because you would have time between each session where you would physically have to move from one department to the other, and there would always be someone like a manager or a supervisor overseeing everything, taking you around. And it was stupid little things. I remember being in one airport in France once, and I could see that the chap that I was with had he was on his phone, and he had a picture of a dog on his phone. Love dogs. I've got a picture of my dog on my phone, and he went, oh, "Is that your dog?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's my dog." Oh, he or she, what's his name? You do all the chat. Actually, they're in the vets, and I says, "All right, do you need to go and pick them up?" "Yeah, but we've got the other." "Go and pick the dog up. Go and pick the dog." The first question the next day when you see them is, "How's the dog?
How's the
How are they
dog?
doing? How's all that?"
Yeah.
And honestly, it's little bits like that changes the whole thing because you just get, I think as well, it just reminds people that you're not an inspector, you're a human being as well. It's like, oh, nice, oh, old dog, oh, is you know, I bet he's slowing down and all that. Mine's jumping up, and it just builds that connection. It's all those little bits that build the connection that really, really help you out, and it's using your time. Then you can go in and say, yeah, we need to have a look at this, and people are like, yeah, that's great. We've spoken about that, and we get it, and it normally works out a lot better.
A little bit better, a bit
Yeah,
easier.
a little bit better. Mostly.
So with your role then, like you had your career journey, you've gone through the aviation industry and sort of found your
Hmm.
place.
Yeah.
If you had known though, if you had known quality, safety, audits, you knew this was the space you wanted to work in, how could you
Hmm.
fast track that? How could you get to there without the journey that you've been on?
Without the preceding 30 years type thing. Excuse me. I was thinking about this ahead of us sitting down and chatting, going, could you how could you do it differently? How could I have done it differently? And obviously, the aviation world is very different to the one that I first joined. Things are far more electronic. You know, life is far more electronic and on a pad or a tablet of some sorts. Um, the thing, uh, the perception of my role in years gone by is you get it by having done 30 years because you've seen most things, you've done most things, and therefore you must be an expert in it, which is a complete fabrication of the truth because you cannot possibly be an expert in everything when your remit is so wide. You can't be an expert in everything even if your remit is very, very narrow as well, because I'm a big believer that there is always something new to learn. You can never say you know everything. And if you do, to my mind, you're doing yourself a disservice because the way business evolves, there's always going to be something new to learn. So the thing, if anybody listening to this was thinking, is there a way I could structure it or do it a bit easier or a bit quicker, I would say being able to get the exposure of learning and understanding where how different departments work. So for me, I've worked with and for different departments throughout my career. So therefore, I've got a reasonable knowledge of a lot of the areas that I now look after. I could have, and it was never a thing earlier on in my career, but I know it is now. There's a lot of shadowing programs, mentoring programs as well, where you can go and sit with a team for a morning, or you could go and actually spend a week with a team. There's even some areas I know where you can go and second yourself into another team for, up to 3 months if the company supports it. And anything like that is invaluable because it's great to say, oh yeah, we're a big airline or we're a big organization, we're a big airport, and yeah, they do this and they do that. You never really know what they do and until you go and sit in their shoes as well. It's like the pilots and the air traffic controller. Pilots and air traffic controllers speak to each other every day, and the pilots that we took to that demonstration just weren't really aware of exactly what the other role was doing, and that's the nature of working for a big organization. You think you know what's happening, but you don't appreciate that. So to my mind, taking full advantage of any opportunities like that exist within the company that you're working in or within a partner company, or even if you're really determined, making the time, taking a week off and saying, I'll take unpaid leave, or I'll take some annual leave and use it to go in and work there because everybody's busy at the end of the day. We can't just be giving people 3 months out or a week off sometimes, but using your time effectively to go and learn about the other areas that you would be looking after. It also gives you a great opportunity to go and speak to other people that you wouldn't normally speak to. And therefore, it builds your ability to speak to other people, build relationships very quickly, and all that interpersonal stuff that we were talking about as well. Um, and that is invaluable, as we said, but just in general as well. You learn more about the company, you learn more about who you can speak to, and you get your face recognised. People remember, it's Grant from compliance. I've got a question. I'll just ping Grant an email he might actually know the answer to that. And if not, he might know someone that can help me. And that's the other bit. It gets your name known, it gets your face known, it gets your enthusiasm and your interest known as well. Um, it doesn't guarantee you a job, but it people will then I would imagine going, oh yeah, they came and spent a week with us. They were really interested in what we did. That's great. Anybody that wants to come and sit with me, I'm like, right, would you like a job? Would you like to work? Do you think you might join us at some point in the future? It's always good to see if people really would, like to do that. Because no one's ever said at school, I want to really question people and then tell them they're not doing things right. It was never an option in the careers form, was it? Something that you maybe discover later on. So yeah, that would be my advice. There's also a lot of courses out there you can do. The training section of our national authority do a lot of inspectors courses, and some of them are very regulation heavy. That's another thing. Read the regulation. I know how thrilling and exciting that sounds saying that, but even understanding the basics of it, and a lot of the time, certainly from the ops regulations, it can be it can be very general. Some of it is very, very intricate. Some of it can be quite general, so it's easy to understand. But training courses run by national authorities about regulations, but a lot of the courses, certainly the ones that we have available in the UK, are run by ex CAA inspectors. So you get here's how to read and interpret the regulations, which is great, but here's some tips about how you ask the questions, and here's the things that you're looking for because they've already done it. They've already done it to certify airlines and airfields. So you're getting the first-hand knowledge of someone that's already done that job.
Mm.
Excuse me.
And that,
And they sorry, go
I
on.
was gonna say, that leans into what you were saying about the relationships and the network. So by doing these
Yeah.
courses, it's not just the knowledge you're getting from the training; it's you're meeting
Mm.
people who are actively involved in the industry. So don't waste that
Yeah,
opportunity. Go introduce
absolutely.
yourself. Go get your face in front of them and have a chat.
Yeah,
Start from there.
absolutely. And you would find yourself on those. I did a course a few years back now. It was to do with dangerous goods, and the chap that was running it had been a dangerous goods inspector for. He'd been and inspected me and my current place of work several times, and he was notorious for being a very thorough. Um, Inspector. He knew every line of like 1,000-page document. He was very good at what he did. But to see him in a training context was totally different, and he was able to impart a lot of information about what you would be looking for, what looks good, what wouldn't look good, what would you need to raise, and what would you therefore encourage people to do to come back up to the level they need to be. That was all great stuff. I was on that course with people from other airlines from all over the world, and instantly, after 3 days, you then have 10 other people that work in your sector all over the world that have all got a little bit of experience doing this, that, and the next thing. Plus, you've met a couple of people from the national authority. And again, somebody asks you a question at work, and you go, wait a minute, there was a guy in that course. Or there was a woman, the woman that took that course was, I'll drop her an email. And it's the similar thing I was saying about, internal shadowing and all that. That person might not know the answer, but they might know someone they can put you in touch with, and it expands that network of people that you get your face recognized with, you get your name recognized with, you get a great network of people that can help you build that knowledge as well. So, um, as you can tell, I'm very much about people and interaction sort of thing, and I find that regardless of what career you're in, interpersonal reactions just make the world turn and make the job so much easier, sort of thing. So yeah, that's certainly one of those things that anybody that's listening could look into as well, courses as well as stuff they could do internally.
Yeah. That ties in with, like, I work with quite a few people, career coaching for the aviation industry, and
Mm,
you don't always get in on your first try. Like, you might want to be a pilot, cabin crew. You might
yeah,
any role. You might not get it on the first try. It's tough to get through the interview process, but I think what I recommend is kind of what you're saying is sort of get into the industry. So it
yeah,
might not be the job you're after, but if you you're in the industry now, you're making
Yeah.
the connections, you understand now, oh, I might be a baggage handler now, but I
Hmm.
now know how ground staff work. And then I might do a counter job. I now know how that works. So by the
Yeah.
time you get all this experience behind you, suddenly you're now in the top 10% for that job you wanted compared to everyone else coming in cold. So
Absolutely.
being a bit more open-minded about your entry point.
Yeah. When I first moved into airlines from air traffic, the company that I went into there, I was very, very lucky. I was one of the few people at the time that came externally from the company and went straight into their operational control center. Most people started as a customer service agent at the airport, then they became a load controller, then they would become a supervisor, then they become a duty manager, then they would move into ops type thing. They'd move from the airport into the kind of head office type thing. I was very lucky that I came straight in. I don't know why it happened because I don't actually think they thought I was suitable to do that because of my background because it was so different to what they did. The gods were looking down on me. Somebody liked my nice new suit that I had put on. I don't know. I got the job, and it started me in a career that was literally only going to be a summer job, and a couple of weeks to see me over between uni and, as I say, 30 years I've been here. But yeah, it's 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 certainly that making the connections. I think something as well is just using those people from the other areas and learning a lot more. And looking for those opportunities is something. And don't wait for the opportunities to come and find you, because if nobody knows you're there, no one's going to come knocking on your desk going, "Just wondering, random person that I have never met before in my life, would you like to learn about this?" You do need to sometimes push yourself out there. And I know I'm a bit of a chatty Cathy, I know, but there's still that little kind of shy person inside of me, and you sometimes just need to put your big brave pants on and go, right, I'm going to go and ask them about this. I'm just going to go and talk to them. And that can be quite uncomfortable for a lot of people. I get it. But the rewards of just being brave that 1 minute and going and doing that. And then the next time you do it, you go, well, I did it last time and nothing bad happened. I'll do it again. I'll do it again. And again, that's how you build up your own confidence. You might be dying inside with stage fright, but how you present yourself is, it doesn't get easier, but you get more used to doing it. Is the way I find it. Yeah, I still feel really nervous about having to do an opening meeting in front of 30, 40 people that I've never met before, who are all just sitting there looking at you, going, "What do you want?" But I know I can do it because I've built up the skills and the training and all that to know I can do this, and no one's going to die, but it doesn't mean to say you can't still feel a wee bit nervous inside, sort of thing. So it's developing the skills to be able to do it rather than going, yeah, I'm great at this, it's fine.
And I think like my advice here is start small. Like you might
Mm,
have a general interest in a career or something, but it doesn't have to be walking up to someone and like asking for mentoring. It could just be
yeah,
start with hello, start with good morning, and say
yeah.
good morning a few times, and then
What do
ask,
you do?
actually, I love your job. Like tell me a little bit about that, and sort of
Absolutely.
build that up. It doesn't have to be this big, daunting conversation.
Yeah, and you don't need to have a big plan, like you say. It's one conversation, and it could be, I walk past this person every day. I have no idea what they do, but it looks fascinating. At least say it's just that one. Can I come and sit with you for an hour at some point in time? I'd really love to know what you're doing. I'd really love to understand what you're doing. I'd really love to know how what you do and what I do all fits together and makes the business running. And that's the first step. You don't need to have right. Well, I need to see these 9 departments and blah blah. It goes back to the calendar. There's a bit of it's great to have a plan, but you might go and speak to the first department, and it takes you down a completely different tangent. So have an idea, but I wouldn't say set it all in stone type thing. Be open to going with it. It's interesting though that you touch on the coaching and the mentoring thing, and that's something that we do in our company. And I am a mentor, but I have also reached out to have a mentor myself, and I have specifically in the past as well reached out to mentors who have worked in very, very different areas of the company to me, both peer-to-peer, people that that are working on my level, people that are working slightly higher up the food chain, and even speaking to people that are in maybe in the corporate structure things, lower down the food chain, because you can learn a lot from them, from everybody. I'm hoping that my next mentor is our commercial director. I know nothing about the commercial side of an airline, and really what we do, other than what you get in business briefs. I also, when I did my degree, was really, really terrible at the commercial module on it as well. So, and it's not because I want to be a commercial director, but it's like somebody is working in this business. They've got a different take on it. They've had different experiences to get here, and I think that goes back to something useful that you can take from it. And then as a mentor, something that you can pass on if anyone comes to you as well. So it's about exploring all those various different opportunities that you know about, and finding out about ones that you don't know about, but just sitting down and having a chat and reaching out to someone, I would say.
And I've coached across multiple industries, but I have to say that
Mm,
the aviation industry in particular seemed to be very open to mentoring. Like,
mm,
it doesn't matter how senior you are, because the industry is sort of elusive. Like, it's not as sort of well known as other industries, and the people within it are quite happy to share their experience and to
mm.
really help out those trying to enter. So I look,
Yeah,
nothing lost, nothing gained, right? Like, ask the question, just have a quick chat and open up that conversation.
absolutely. If you there's a few sort of little idioms and phrases around the aviation industry, and it speaks just to that, Nate. It's one of the kind of jokes is always, how do you know if you're talking to a pilot? He'll tell you. It's like, but that's nothing against pilots, because to be fair, anybody in the aviation industry would be exactly the same. And if somebody shows an interest, and I speak personally here as well, I've been doing it 30 years. I don't find it really boring, but it's just my job. I don't get the fascination in it that people who aren't in it get it, because it's what I do. My husband is fascinated by whenever we go on holiday, why are they doing that? Where do they go there? And where does that go? And what's that do? And what are they doing out there? And why are they at the back of the aircraft? And should they not be there? And I was just like, please stop asking me questions. It's just work. I'm not looking out the window. I'm on holiday. But you forget, because you're in it, whether you're cabin crew, your pilots, whether you work in the head office, that people are genuinely interested, and therefore people that are in the aviation industry, we will talk the hind legs off you if you want to know, because we get that people are fascinated. We forget it ourselves, but it's lovely when we see that people are genuinely interested to know.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, let's keep moving.
Yeah,
Tools and resources. Any tools or resources that you lean into often, or anything you'd recommend for anyone to check out?
we the I would start with, and I say again, because you deal with regulations, it's not the most scintillating. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of paragraph. It can sometimes be a lot of legalese, but I would say resources are good at googling. Certainly for aviation, the sort of operational or engineering. If you wanted to be in engineering. They're always very readily available on website. In the UK here, you can go, for example, to the UK Civil Aviation Authority website, type in regulations, type in OPS regs, it all comes up. They have a lovely, easy to read version that is slightly less legalese than the sort of legal documents have to produce. I know that EASA for the majority of Europe have the same. In the States, they have the FAA. So any national authority will normally have a portal where you can go and look up the regulations, because I do that in the course of my job. That's my main touch point. Um, again, there's other like international standards that you might want to look at. So websites like ICAO and IATA have guidance material and all that. on there, which you would be kind of good served to go in, best served to go and have a look there as well, and it can give you some guidance. That's the sort of basis for a lot of things we do. In terms of tools, there's a lot of, we've got a lot of apps on how you record stuff, but, there'd be general stuff like, you could, probably a lot of online courses, LinkedIn Learning, I know do a lot of courses online, as will many other organizations. There'll probably be a YouTube video, but like, all those effective listenings and how to ask a good question, and that a lot of that interpersonal stuff that just makes you think, how can you develop those skills, because sometimes you can't develop those skills until you actually go and do it. So those kind of things would be a really good basis for people to kind of, I maybe don't know the details, but I can develop the skills to be able to be a good question, good note taker as well. Being able to write quickly and being able to, in my case, go back and read your own handwriting 2 days later. All little bits like that. How do you, those are all little good skills as well that you could use for certainly for the role that I do as well.
Yeah, those soft skills. I just want another pitch for coaching here. Having a coach, like it gives you that safe space to ask those silly questions or to practice those difficult conversations, because it's not easy. And look, if it was easy, everyone would put their hand up to be a manager, or everyone would put their hand
Of
up to
course.
manage a global team. But it's not an easy
Yeah.
job, and I think you've got to break that expectation that you have to do it alone or you have to do it on your like. There's people out there to support that, particularly with English as a second language. A lot of my
Yes.
I'm based in Hong Kong. A lot of my clients are based through Asia, and having that safe space to ask those questions it really does take that pressure off when you do need to dive in and have those
Yeah,
conversations.
and the thing that I've found from coaching as and mentoring as both a mentor and a mentee, it's just having someone else that says, have taking a situation, a scenario, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? It's someone even just reflecting back, well, you've just said this, and it gets your brain firing, and oh, right, because like you say, it's not something you just have to do by yourself, and just having someone to bounce ideas off, to bounce thoughts off, and not feel the pressure of is this a really ridiculous question? If I go and ask that manager this, are they going to say, don't be ridiculous, go away, stop annoying me with silly questions? Which I don't think any manager worth their weight in gold would do. But it's still, it's still a concern for some people that aren't aware and that are wanting to find out. So, using stuff like that, like yourself, and coaching services, mentoring services, would be invaluable. Certainly around those soft skills as well, because if you're going into managers and all that, again, it's all kind of foreign territory. And there's an interesting thing as well, if I may. You talk about the English not as a mother tongue there. One of the things I learned from, and it's something that as a native English speaker, I never fully appreciated until I worked for this my last company. We wrote our instructions for one of the areas in English, and everyone that worked for us across Europe had it in English. And you know what the Brits are like, we're terribly polite. So we never, a lot of the instructions may have said, well, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you should do, because I mean, who are we to tell people what to do? However, cut forward to me out there in the audience saying, well, why aren't you doing that? I said, well, it doesn't tell me I have to do it. It tells me I should do it. And I was like, yeah, so why
Oh,
aren't you doing it? And they went, because if it meant me to actually do it, it would say, you must do this. But of course, because we're terribly, terribly British with it all, we were like, it was written kind of, well, I'm paraphrasing here, and I'm not denigrating the very hard work that went into it, but they were interpreting it in a very British way, as people that spoke English a second language, and going, if you feel like it, you could maybe just do this. And like, if you want us to do something, just say you must do this. So I had to go back to head office, and I'm like, you're going to have to rewrite that, because this is how it's being interpreted by speakers of English as a second language. And I think I actually went through one of the manuals, and it was something like there are 536 occasions of the word should, and there's
Not much.
seven of shall. Um, we maybe need to switch it around then. We have to be very un-British about it and just say, just do it like this. But it's an interesting thing that I think a lot of, certainly a lot of people, if you're coaching people with English as a second language, it's a different take on stuff like regulation, because regulation is all about interpretation, and how that language is interpreted as well. And that's very different from a native English speaker to someone who is reading it as a second language, which, can I just say, amazes me. I've got schoolboy French and German, and it helped me out here and there. But anybody that's doing that job in a second language for the majority of I can't bow down enough to them. I think it's amazing. So
I agree
yeah,
completely. It's just
yeah,
amazing. I wish I could speak multiple languages, but sadly not. But
yeah.
it's pretty amazing. So tell me, as we wrap up, do you have a quote or a mantra or some advice that you lean into when things get tough or on a daily basis?
I was having to think about this. How do you kind of sum up what gets you through? Um, there's two kind of there's a short phrase and a kind of slightly longer phrase that I lean into. At the difficult times, my line in my head, as you're sat there sweating, thinking they are gonna hate this, my line is always, "You're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing." My job is safety and compliance. It's safety assurance. It's about doing the right thing, making sure things are safe. That's why I'm paid. That's why my team do what we do, because we're doing that. So my line is always, this might be difficult, but you're doing the right thing. And the kind of wider kind of context of it for me is, if what I am doing saves just one life throughout the course of my entire career, then it will have been worth it. That's the bit that I always have to, and we all get complacent in a job, there's that, oh, here we go again doing this. But we're doing the right thing. But if this saves one life, because everything in my world, every regulation and every direction that is written down in law, and this applies across the globe, is there because something has happened and they have brought in a regulation to make it safer. So everything that's there is there for a reason. It's not that someone sat down and just thought, I'm a bit bored, I'll create some rules. Everything is there because something has gone before it that didn't go so well. And that might just be an incident, it could be a catastrophic accident, it could have been loss of life, it could have been a minor injury. But everything is there for a reason. And if I help uphold that and it saves only one life across my career, it will have been worth it, sort of thing. Hopefully it's never needed to save any lives, but if it saves just one, it's worth it. So that's what that gets me through the tough times. When you think, oh, why didn't I just become a singing teacher or something else? Yeah.
Oh, it's one of those jobs though. It's like being a politician, right? Because if you
Mm,
like you do something and you get criticized for doing it, but if you hadn't done it, things would have been worse. But you don't get credit for how it
absolutely.
could have happened. So it
Yeah.
must be really difficult to find those moments where you can feel the achievement. But I think your
Yeah.
mantra of when it saves one life, it's worth. That's the credit I need
Yeah.
internally rather than an external credit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. And again, going back to the comparison, I know your background in HR. people don't People never come to you and thank you for raising seven findings. People never come back to you and say, well done for doing that disciplinary. We get that. So you have to develop that resilience within yourself. You have to develop that resilience within the team. So between like my little team, they'll come back, they'll be frustrated, and I'm like, you're doing the right thing, though. You have to remember you're doing the right thing. And we have to remember, and I mean, they get it now. They're going, yeah, we know, one life, one life. I says, yeah, but it's there. That's the reason you have to remember it, because that's what gets you through the days where you get to 5 o'clock and you go, I might just I might just go and work somewhere else. You've got to have that something to drive you through. So yeah,
You're
that
making a
that, that
difference.
would be mine to keep for MD in this career, or MD that's considering that career. It's very can be very fulfilling and very worthwhile, and that's the driver behind it.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, let's wrap up. Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, it's been great to be here, Nate. Thanks very much.
If you'd like more information about this podcast or our other guests, please check out coachingbynate.com for more resources and learn how coaching and mentoring can help develop your career.